So you're doing well at work, your role is secure, but all of a sudden you're anxious, you're worried because something around you changed. Somebody got laid off, there's talks of the business impact of things, and there's worry that's set in for people around you, and now it's affecting you. It can affect the way you lead, the way you feel, the way you ask. This is a scarcity mindset, and it comes in and out. Do you have scarcity mindset? Stay right where you are. Welcome to How to Get What You Want. This podcast is for driven women ready to claim their goals and navigate their careers with clarity and confidence. Join me as we explore real stories, tools, and strategies to help you steer your career exactly where you want to go. Let's get started on helping you get what you want. Hey friend, welcome. I am so happy that you made the decision to be here today. We're going to talk about scarcity, and it's really interesting because I have seen evidence of scarcity so often right now. So I wanted to make sure that I came to the microphone to talk about this really important topic. And I've seen it in myself, to be completely honest. It's not just when you're in a situation with scarcity, it's the perception of scarcity can shift your mindset in a way that puts you in survival mode. It isn't just about resources, it's about that perception. Somebody next to you could be going through something that affects you and the way you perceive your security in your role. We think that scarcity only happens from time to time, but it can just come in and out throughout our day, throughout our week, depending on who we're in front of, what situation we're facing. Psychiatrists have said that scarcity mindset kicks in anytime you feel limited. And that can be limited by time, money, opportunity, or safety. Just think about time. I had a client today that talked about how she has no time to think on her own or get things done because she's going from meeting to meeting, doing so much and has such little resources to put to it. So she is in a scarcity. She has no other choice. Shifting that is really important. It's the situation that has gotten you there. And it's so wild to think about. You might not even be at risk, but you perceive yourself as being at risk. So she's starting to really talk about, what if this happens? What if this? How is this perception of this person? Am I too short? Am I being too strong? Like, all this self-doubt is really bubbling up for her because she has a limitation of time. It's causing so much stress and anxiety for her. It's like hearing about a layoff. The reason that can be so difficult within a culture is because when there's uncertainty, lack of information, that puts people in scarcity mindset. And you know what happens when a lot of people are in scarcity mindset? They're trying to put together the story that makes sense. Think about that. You hear just the whispers of something's going to happen, or you hear over here that there's layoffs that have happened. You don't know if it's over or not. And so you talk amongst yourselves to try to figure out, what do you know? You're piecing together data. And so the more talk and that noise causes more scarcity to be applied, because we want to believe what we want to believe. And so even if we're listening when there's lack of information, that is when fear starts. Like, think about it. The mafia, that's one of the things that they use, is withholding information, because that puts somebody in a scarcity mindset. When somebody's in a scarcity mindset, that puts them at risk. That makes them vulnerable. They're more likely to do something that they don't feel like, that will get them out of that not feeling secure. So the mafia uses it because when somebody feels vulnerable, they're more likely to be able to control them, to get them to do what they want them to do. So think about that. When budgets are tightened, it activates that part of your brain that is not as good at controlling emotions. And so it hyper focuses you on survival because you don't have all the information to know you're not safe. Even when you're secure, being able to have a keen eye to what's going on around you so you can self-adjust and go, ooh, I'm really looking at this. Why am I so worried? Why am I anxious? What is triggering that? When you're focused on survival, it's hard to be strategic be generous or be bold. Think about that. When you're in a scarcity mindset, it's hard to be strategic. So you can't think things through. You don't look toward the future. You're not more abundant to be able to say, these are all the possibilities. You're not as generous with your time, with your ideas. When you get in scarcity, you're more likely to withhold information. And it's interesting to also see that in other people. People might withhold information when they're feeling scarcity. So identifying that in others. And the other thing is you're less likely to be bold. When we don't feel secure, we're not going to make a bold ask. We're not going to put our bold ideas out there. And that keeps us from raising our hand. It keeps us from advocating for ourselves. So scarcity is a really important thing to become aware of. And even in these times where we can just identify, I feel triggered right now. What is the cause of it? That can be great muscle memory to learn so that you can identify when you become close to that scarcity margin. Scarcity changes the way we see the world. It makes everything feel like a threat, even when we're safe. It's a really powerful statement. I want you to really think about that. So as I mentioned, I have seen scarcity in the wild in so many situations recently. And I think it's just directly related to things that are going on within the world, within industries, within companies. There's just so much, even just the economy and how that's affecting people. I had one client who got constructive feedback from her boss on a presentation that she did. She got so worried about the perception of her boss. And what happened was she felt really insecure about the feedback she had gotten. So she wasn't sure if the relationship was still on really solid ground. And her boss got really busy with some other initiatives that she was working on. And my client didn't realize that she was pulled away from that. So she stopped hearing back from her boss. Her boss canceled some of her one-on-ones. She had not had her staff meeting. So her boss became less and less visible. So less information. And so my client started just spiraling about the stories she would tell herself about that feedback has now she doesn't believe that I'm doing what I need to do. She doesn't trust me anymore. There was all these storylines that she had adopted that was making her show up really quiet. She wasn't sharing ideas with her colleagues. She was afraid to challenge because she wasn't sure if her boss had her back. And a few weeks later, her boss and her had their one-on-one, and she realized that all of the narrative that she had believed was all fictitious in her mind. She had allowed her scarcity to fill in the blanks because information was not there. It was so crazy. She was like kicking herself for wasting so much time that she allowed herself to spin out of control. Another example was with a friend of mine who owns a company like mine, and we've been talking for a year about working together. She was very bold with me and very bullish about saying, I want to work with you and partner with you. I'm going to introduce you here and there and here and here and here. Well, she has since been hearing about downsizing and people have less budgets. So she's been really worried. So she's been looking for full-time work. How can she jump back into not doing it on her own? And so when I met with her, it was such a different air about her. I could just feel her scarcity mindset. It was less about partnering with me and more about, I've got to do this, this, and this. What are you hearing? The conversation that we had was so different. And it was so interesting to me because the way I looked at her before when she was bullish and full of confidence was like, oh, I want to be a part of that. I want to work with her. And then when she came across to me as just not having clarity, feeling insecure, it made me realize how I don't know if I want to work with her. And it was so interesting, not that nothing had changed. Nothing had changed about how brilliant she is, how great she is at what she does. Nothing had changed about that. But the only thing that had changed was her outlook. And it changed the way I viewed her ability and my wanting to. So I was like, oh my gosh, for me, I need to make sure that even when I'm feeling like nervous about my future of business and with all these budgets that happen, of course, this leads me to having a scarcity mindset when I'm hearing my clients say, we have to downsize, we have to cut our budgets. I don't know what that means for me. And that can put me into a narrative of spinning out of control. And I need to make sure that I don't do that, because when you signal scarcity, it makes people not want to work with you. I also, just in these times where I'm hearing people go through, there's been some significant changes in some big corporate organizations. These companies are doing is they're letting people go, but they're not letting them go right away. And so the thing that's really challenging about that is when people know they're losing their job, they're looking out for themselves. Of course, they should be. And so for the people that are left, they're trying to figure out how to stay focused, how to support the people that are leaving. And because they're hearing these people live in scarcity, it's making the people that are staying really concerned. What about me? Why am I still here? Is the organization going to turn and do this again? Scarcity is fueled by uncertainty around you too. So I want you to really think about that, because I work with a lot of my clients right now about how do they shift that mindset and how do they make sure that they pull apart fact versus feeling, take the emotion out of it, being able to see it. I had one client say she can tell that her boss is in scarcity mindset right now because he used to really share a lot of information and he's sharing very little. And they say when you're in scarcity and you have information, that feels comfortable because at least you have the information. That feels like it is safer to be the one that has it. But that scarcity mindset is not an abundance mindset that breeds confidence, that breeds collaboration. What it does is it pushes people away. And she can feel it. She said to me, I don't feel like I trust my boss anymore. So be careful. I tell that to you because if you are a leader and you are nervous and you signal scarcity to your team, you may not even realize maybe you're canceling one-on-ones because you're so busy doing something else. Maybe you haven't been as transparent as you normally are. Be aware of the signals that you're giving out that you might even not even realize you're doing, because you're going to cause the people around you, if there's lack of information that they have or clarity or certainty, then they're going to feel even more and more scarcity. And you know what it's going to do? That's going to lower their productivity. So it isn't good for anybody. Don't forget, in these times of challenge, followers of good leaders need to feel trusted. They need to have hope. They need to have compassion and stability. So think about how can you as a leader give people that. Here's a couple tips I want you to think about as well. 3 steps that you can combat scarcity mindset when it's happening to you. The first is to acknowledge that it is. Acknowledge the emotion. Start looking for the evidence that you might be susceptible to this. Anytime there's pressure, when there's uncertainty, when things are happening around you that are out of your control, that might just put you in a scarcity mindset. It might happen for a meeting. It may happen for a week. It may happen over a segment of time, but be looking for that and tell yourself, I'm not in danger, but I'm feeling this mindset because I'm seeing uncertainty happening around me. When you name it, it gives yourself power to be able to say, what do I need to shift? To even pretend like I'm going to be more transparent. I'm going to have more meetings with my team. I'm going to make sure I check in with them and ask them, how are you feeling? Tell me what is going on with you. Spend time. Remember, I told you earlier is that you have less abundance for time. You don't think about the fact that you try to get more done. You're not strategic, you're not generous, and you're not bold, is what I said. And so when you're not generous with your time, that will trigger scarcity to other people. So are you doing that? And then remember that control your context. Scarcity thrives in silence. Check in with your manager. See what you can find out. Say, listen, I know that you have a lot going on, but I'm feeling some uncertainty. Can you make sure that you're telling me all that you know? Or this is some of the things that I'm hearing. Can you help me fill in some of the blanks, color in what I don't know? I want to make sure that I am in sync with you. So how can I help you? That client that I said that her boss is practicing, he's definitely in scarcity mindset. I said, nicely call him on it. Say, hey, listen, I've been really feeling uncertain about everything that's going on around us. And I feel like I haven't got the same information from you. Can we spend more time really sharing information, intel of what's going on, and see what he says? Don't label it for him, but just come to him and frame it carefully. If you're feeling that way, ask for some support from your boss. And then anchor in your value. Really remember your value. Understand how you're perceived within the organization. Go to those trusted advisors that you have and say, I'm really feeling like my visibility has been pushed down. So what can I do? Look for people outside of your reporting line that could give you some context and help to get yourself out of a panic or fearful or anxiety mode. You don't have to wait for that. You can get clarity from and support from people around you. And that builds equity in that relationship too, because you're showing them in a time where you're feeling really vulnerable, you went to them for some help. Remember, it can creep in and we don't even realize that it is becoming the character in our story. So is that happening for you? Take a pulse on when things are really chaotic around you. How are you reacting to that? Make sure that when you feel it, you don't live it, but you're aware of it. And when we're so busy, it's hard to see it. Scarcity isn't a mindset, it's a reaction. So you choose to what to do next. So some things to ask yourself is, what am I making this situation mean? Or is this real power or is it panic? Gosh, scarcity is hard, and there's not a one size fits all in terms of how pressure from the outside or things that changing affect us all. But being aware of it and even asking yourself, wow, what's my mindset around this? And am I acting different than I normally do? We all can shift in and out of scarcity mindset. It's our willingness to be aware of when that's happening to us. If you know somebody that's struggling with this, send this to them. Have a conversation about it. See how scarcity is affecting not just you, but the culture that you're in right now. Maybe you can help the whole team. Share this with them and remember that scarcity is something that you need to be aware of because it can shift what happens to you if you stay in it too long. I'm so glad that you made the choice to be here today. I'd love to hear from you. Go to negotiationlove.com. I'd love for you to join the network and always feel free to reach out to me. Give me feedback. Tell me what you want me to cover. I'm here for you. This is all about helping people think about ways to get what they want, to get really clear and have the courage to raise your hand. Because remember that negotiation isn't just a skill, it's a mindset. Until next time, I can't wait to hear from you. I'm Susie.